1 out of 5 stars. Reviewed in the United States on June 16th, 2009. Show this movie to little kids? I don't think so. I wouldn't even show this to a 10-year-old unless I wanted him to walk around saying damn and what the hell all day long.
Oh my.
Stuart Little, the book, is enchanting. This movie is foul. Let's set aside for a moment that the plot of the movie is unrelated to the book. The movie as it stands does not measure up to what it could have been. Poor Stuart is so pitiful and miserable throughout 75% of the movie. Wasted potential.
Welcome to our first episode of the Speakuel podcast, our first podcast where us, a little ragtag group of experiments, come together to try and dig through and research the various cinematic universes that we can uncover from these movies and their sequels. Our first such test subject, fittingly enough, our first lab rat, you could say, is Stuart Little.
Rene, you're so clever, and we're kicking it off. We're kicking it off real good this time.
What a cinematic universe Stuart Little is. I feel like a lot of people don't realize that there are 3 Stuart Little movies and an animated TV show, correct?
Yes.
Yep.
All of those Stuart Little exist within, and it's always surprising to find that out, even after knowing. The third Stuart Little it's there. The second one is actually, it's not as boring as the last half of the first movie.
I feel like a lot of people remember the second one a lot because there was a lot of, it aired on TV a lot. I feel like I saw Stuart Little 2 on TV, a lot.
Was Stuart Little 2 a direct-to-DVD movie, or was it a...
I don't know.
I am very curious about that, but for now, we should focus on the first half, the origin of it all. Stuart Little, number 1.
The most important thing about setting up a cinematic universe is really the first movie, because that's where you're going to be making a lot of your just jumping off points and basis and stuff, all that fun stuff. You establish your characters. It's pretty, by the books. Yeah.
Stuart Little, I saw this, when was the first time that y'all saw Stuart Little? I think I saw it when I was at the ripe, very tender young age of 5, maybe even before that. And it was one of those movies that my mom thought was really cute, so she just showed it to me.
Well, I can say, when I was a little microchip, way back in the day, I was put through this movie, and I really liked it.
Put through? Yet you used the words put through.
Well, I mean, I was a kid, didn't watch things of my own volition, really, but I really liked Stuart Little because, as a kid, I also just got off watching Sam Raimi's SpiderMan in the early 2000s, and because they were both set in New York, there was an association there between Spider-Man and Stuart Little. So for a long time I had a real fondness for it because a lot of the vistas and stuff. I mean, that was mostly with Stuart Little too, really, but we'll get to that when we get to that.
Rene, did you feel as if they took place in the same world? like, if you look close enough at Stuart Little, maybe you'll see Spider-Man swinging around on the skyscrapers. like somewhere Spider-Man's there, he's doing his job, and Stuart Little's doing his fucking stupid thing. His mouse
I think
deeds.
it's very possible, and I've jotted down in my notes for if we're ever gonna cover the Spider-Man movies, so we can cross-reference, see if there's any little mice in little red Corvettes driving around.
Yeah, the scene where like Spider-Man is like or Peter Parker. Don't want to give away his identity, do we?
You just did.
Well, just edit out the part where I call him Spider-Man. It's fine.
Okay, so we're just talking about a dude named Peter Parker.
So Peter Parker, who isn't Spider-Man, he's listening to Doc Ock, and Doc Ock is, sorry, Dr. Octavius. Edit that out too. We don't want to give away his secret identity. And he's talking about his big funny arms that he puts on his back. And if you look, Stuart Little's listening too. He's in the crowd. He's like, "Wow, I could do a lot with that. The Littles, they would love it if I brought that home."
Well, we can get there when we get there with that experiment. This week's experiment is solely about Stuart Little and his movie, his very Christmassy without being Christmas feeling movie.
Yeah, it's very. What did you say? It was like gold tinted, like
It's a very golden movie. Let's go on about the aesthetics of this movie.
It's rosy. It's very rosy. The whole thing. It feels it. Okay, so would y'all say that Stuart Little the First is kind of like the movie equivalent of potpourri, like the stuff you find in like a grandma house?
Yeah, exactly. Well, the Littles, which is the family that adopts Stuart Little, who is a mouse, they live in this very small, tiny house, like squished in between like skyscrapers in New York, and it's oh so whimsy. And like the movie opens with George, the Little's son. He's like, what, 8 years old? Or something like that?
He's like fucking 2. He acts like a little baby. He is
so
a little
small.
He's very small, and he's very immature, and he runs into his parents' bedroom like, oh, it's here, it's the day, and they're wearing like matching pajamas. It looks like the beginning of a Christmas movie where it's like, oh, it's Christmas, time to open presents. There's a lot of that. There's a lot of like, they dress very nicely or very sophisticated, and they like, I don't know, I feel like the mom is into painting, but we never really see her paint, but I just like feel like she has like a nook somewhere where she paints. The dad paints like miniatures.
Yeah, the dad and the boy are very much into the miniatures. That's like a huge point in the movie, isn't it? Like they have like a basement full of wonders, and that's where George that's where he lives. A hole in the wall.
But this movie, it's a very, not just like Christmassy in the sense that it's looks like it, but like it's a very joyful, little gleeful kind of movie where like everything is whimsical, and the music just swells with like such like not really romantic, but like just like isn't life just lovely?
What's the theme on Stuart Little? It's like
yeah, that's the leitmotif that they put in like all of the songs. There's like a little bit of na 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 na, and it when you hear that, you know that Stuart is up to something.
Well, I think it's important. An important part of this movie is the adoption scene, which is like one of the first scenes, and it has got to be one of the wildest scenes in this whole movie, and that's saying a lot for what happens in this stupid movie.
Yeah, they leave George. George is at school. I don't know why they didn't bring George to the place to, like, I feel like that's a good enough reason to not go to school that day. Is like, oh yeah, I'm getting a new brother and I want to like meet them and like get them comfortable. But nah, it's just kind of like going to buy a dog, which they kind of did.
This adoption scene is very funny to me because it has a dual purpose where like it's introducing Stuart to his family and stuff, but it's setting up the themes in contrast to its cutesy, whimsical aesthetic. That, you know, it's a story about not feeling like you fit in with your family, but you know you still gotta get along with your family, and like, you know, because they're your found family and you love them and stuff. That's, you know, that's fine enough, but it rears in your head that like this is weird. You know, he is a mouse child, and the adoption lady who's you know, talking about Stuart, she's like, oh, you know, usually we find that people who adopt outside their own species aren't fit for carrying them.
It doesn't really work out.
But so there's like immediately here there's like a contrast of, okay, this is a cutesy little like family movie where like a little rat is gonna do like have some fun adventures with this family and try to figure out where he belongs in that family, but also like there's that uncomfortability of this is a rat child who this family is gonna adopt into.
Stop calling him a rat. He is a mouse.
The mouse, whatever.
His
It's
tail
not
is
important.
Distinctly smaller than a rat's tail, Rene.
The taxonomy is not important here. What's important here is that these parents bring this newly adopted, questionably child mouse
could be a
to their
30-year-old.
home, and he immediately does not fit in with like this big house. They don't accommodate him and his needs as much, and there's a cat in their home.
Snowbell immediately upon seeing a mouse in the house is like, oh, I'm going to attack that and eat it. And they didn't even carry Stuart into their home. They
make him carry all of his luggage. He is his own little mouse, and like, you know, he can walk. It's fine. We'll just let our 3-inch son just like trail along behind us. Like, let him walk the miles that he has to go to get upstairs or use the bathroom or just like get into our house.
They like bring him home in a taxi. They don't even help him out of the taxi. They just open the taxi door and then open their front door and they're like, all right, come on in. And it's like a mile for him. It's a long walk and he's carrying his stuff.
This happens consistently in this movie, and I guess it's there to reinforce the fact that he feels so small. He's a little.
Well,
He's a Stuart Little, but
I'm little. That's okay.
but they could stand to be a bit more accommodating, you'd think.
They could like get him something, like put your little guy on your shoulder, put him, I don't know, help him out. I want to talk about Stuart Little's manipulation tactics.
All right.
Let's talk about it.
This is Lucy's and Gert's hypothesis about this movie.
Oh, you're detaching your
giving...
name from the project now, huh? You don't want anything to do with it?
Listen. I'm here as a peer reviewer. I don't, you know, I'm just looking at the facts. But I think you have promise in your research paper here for Stuart Little being a manipulative con man. But please go on.
Rene, you've been on our side for so long, and now you turn when we're finally able to let the people know about it. When we're finally dedicating a whole podcast episode to the little mouse himself. Stuart Little in the very second scene, which I guess is the adoption scene, he has a tactic, and it's to make people feel so sorry for him that they just take him in and they give him what he wants. Stuart Little has a little book that he reads.
It's probably fake.
It's probably
Nobody makes
fake.
books that small.
Can you imagine, like, the text in that book? How just unillegible it would be? Do they have printers that can make words that tiny?
I'm going to set the scene here. Stuart Little's parents are overwhelmed with the choices, I guess, in children they can acquire, because they got like sat in a room full of children. It's like the children's bedroom. They're all like running around. They all look like they're like 10 or 12, and they're just like, oh, we don't know who to pick. This is like picking out like a puppy at a fucking puppy mill or whatever. And then here's Stuart sitting on they probably almost he's on the same bench as them. They probably almost sat on him. Here's what happens. Stuart kind of starts trying to help them. He's like, oh, are you looking for a child? Well, Susie over there she can speak French, and he can do a handstand. Maybe you want a boy like me. There's Henry. He can play basketball. And then he's
ready, set, go.
And yeah, he's like, and that kid, he can run halfway across the room in just 3 seconds. And all this while, he's like putting away his little book next to like a little shelf of other little books. He's like,
they're in between two big books.
Yeah, and the parents are kind of like, well, what about you? Like, what's so great about you? And he's like, oh yeah, gee, I don't know, but you'll know when you pick the right when you pick the right kid. You'll sit down with them, you'll start talking with them, and meanwhile the parents are just like, they're eating this shit up. They're leaning in like,
I think the mother's mouth and her eyes are like kind of open. Like she's really like, Stuart, he's tapped into that emotional line. And
oh yeah,
you can really tell.
He's like, oh, and you'll just know who it is. And then of course they adopt him because he just sat there and like talked circles around them to make them think that they should adopt him.
There's also a clever little bit of Stuart likes to inject little awkward quips, little things that he does to make him look a little bit more what's the word I'm looking for, Lucy help
pathetic
me. Yes, pathetic
endearing.
Is one. Yeah, endearing, kind of clumsy. He does a little clumsy thing. He leans on the globe, he falls over. It's all calculated.
Vulnerable.
It's
vulnerable.
He likes to make people see his vulnerable side that I don't believe is really there, at least when he's doing this in front of the Littles. But yeah, Stuart Little's, he's a little devil, and he has at least 3 speeches in this movie that tap into the Littles' heartstrings, or somebody's heartstrings.
I think we need to talk about Georgie.
I want to talk about Georgie, too.
All right, I guess if you want to talk about Georgie, I gotta be the one to do it.
Yeah, you're the master.
His name is
Georgie.
George Little, first of all, and he's a little boy, about 8, probably, and he really wants this little brother, and this is one of the main conflicts in the movie. One of Stuart's like hurdles that he has to get over, either to impress his brother, to convince him that he's a worthy brother, a worthy family member, or to con him, as Lucy and Gert's hypothesis goes. But he does not favor Stuart in the beginning of the movie. He sees his parents bringing by this little mouse to his home and saying, "This is your brother, George. This is your real brother. We're not joking. This is him."
This is not a prank.
I wanted a brother, not a pet. Did Georgie ask for the brother?
Yeah, he said he wanted a brother. He did want one.
He did.
Yeah, he was really excited for it. Like, he was excited and expecting to see, you know, a human sibling that he could, like, you know, hang around, but it is a mouse. And now the question is, should his expectation of it be, oh, this is just like another sapient creature that, like, you can, like, have dialogue with, and, you know, it's just a matter that he's, like, a little different, that's hard to get around? Or is it that this is a literal mouse that's just suddenly talking, and his parents are acting like this is totally normal, and this is his new brother?
Would this upset y'all? I'm an only child, so, like, you know, that's how our species works. You know, we're very loner.
Well, I'll ask this: did you ever, growing up, want a sibling?
No, I got everything. It was great.
Okay, I have 2 siblings. I think that's the same with you, Rene, right?
Yep.
Okay, so I take, let's say, your sister away, Lucy.
Okay. All right.
Just completely erased from your life.
Okay,
and your
she doesn't
memory.
exist.
She doesn't exist. And how about I give you Stuart Little instead?
Okay, well, this changes the question, because at first I thought initially the question would be, if your parents brought home an animal and said it's your new sibling, then would you be happy? Because I would think that'd be pretty cool to have, like, a talking cat as a sibling. But if it's literally Stuart Little, then no, that guy sucks. I don't want to have
But
him
what
as
if
a
he
sibling.
really just, like, gets to know you well, and, like,
What if he wormed his rat way into my heart?
Yeah, what if he warms up to you a little bit? Like, what would Stuart Little have to do to accomplish this?
Well, he could do what he does in the movie, which is say a little bullshit speech about feeling small and then ride around in a tiny little red car that I put together with my dad.
Pretend to get ran over by a train.
For me, he'd have to do something a little more, like win a remote control boat race or something. But that's just me.
That would really, like, solidify his place in the family for me, I think. If he, like, won a little boat race for me.
So George, he's got this boat.
the boat, they keep talking about the boat. The boat race is the thing, it's like the middle of the movie, I believe.
Yeah, you would think it feels like it's supposed to be kind of closer to the end, but then, like, a lot of really slow and boring stuff happens in the last third of the movie.
There's sort of 3 climaxes in this movie if you think about it. There's the boat race, there's Stuart getting home, and then there's Stuart gets home again, but this time with family.
There's multiple Stuart come home scenes. Now, I feel like we forgot to mention the cat talks, and so I just want to put, just to ease everyone's mind, that the cat talks. Stuart can talk to the cat, but the cat can't talk to the people.
I think Stuart Little might be a scarier movie if Snowbell was just a normal cat without any, like, ulterior motives other than I want to eat this fucking mouse. Like, it's like, doesn't care about Stuart Little, like, taking up a spot in the family. He's just like, food.
If he was just a cat.
It'd be a completely different movie, let me tell you.
You know that scene, y'all, where Stuart Little's, like, laying in the big bed? Like, it's where right after he gets up, after he gets eaten and, like, he gets
after he gets shoved in the washing machine and he almost drowns.
No, the one where he's, like, it's his first night at home.
Oh,
and
yeah.
It's his first night at home, and he's just laying in this big-ass bed, and Snowbell's just like, "You little rat, you're taking my place in the family." Stuart Little could have warmed up to Snowbell by offering maybe like a spot on the bed for him to sleep.
Or even better, saying, hey, listen, I can understand you. If you want something, I could tell the Littles to get it for you.
Oh my god, he could have done that. And like, can you imagine the little surprise when they find out that their cat understands human language?
But no, only one sapient animal for the family at a time. You know, they're just getting used to Stuart. Oh, the novelty of this little talking mouse. Ooh, how precious.
How long this novelty of a mouse, son, how long it'll last, we'll see. One movie, in my opinion.
Well, we'll see. But, so, we've gone over the Stuart's relationship with George and with Snowbell. And, you know, the parents, it's a bit of a distance relationship where they're like, oh, we love Stuart, you know, he's part of the family and stuff. They don't really, like, have much else to say for him besides that.
Well, I can't imagine their dad being home that often. I mean, with him working that job at the hospital all the time.
What
are you
what?
Oh my god, this is about the actor. The actor who plays the dad Stuart, the dad Little is,
well, just
Hugh
give it
House.
away. Hugh Laurie is the dad. House is Stuart Little's dad. The Dr. House. Isn't that crazy?
Are we adding that to is that canon? Is that House? Is he sometimes the father of a mouse?
I feel like when he gets home, he becomes Mr. Frederick Little, but when he gets to the office, he kind of undergoes the persona of House.
It's a transformation.
And, you know, he lives a double life. It's fine. There are so many Littles in this movie.
There are. They have a scene where, like, all the Little family, like, extended family, like, the aunts and uncles come to kind of, like, congratulate for, like, the new child. But the Littles fail to warn them ahead of time that Stuart is a mouse. So they bring him, like, these like gifts, like a bowling ball and like a bicycle and like a catching mitt, and George like literally looks at them all and he's like, are you people crazy? He's a mouse, he's not gonna be able to use this.
That's a bowling ball. What's a mouse gonna do with a bowling ball? And to Georgie's credit, he's absolutely right. They should just let George have this bike and bowling ball and all these nice things, and then, you know, he can kind of enjoy those things with Stuart, maybe.
But it's funny because they don't. They don't just do that. They look at Stuart like riding the big bike, and they're just like looking on, smiling like nervously, saying like, oh, maybe he'll grow into it. Oh, he probably still has a lot of growing to do. And there's a palpable energy of discomfort, but like still trying to be like cheery and whimsical.
Oh, Grandma Estelle Little. Oh,
Who?
Uncle Crenshaw.
That's not their names.
It is. It's Uncle Crenshaw and Grandma Estelle Little, and
yeah, name one more.
Those are the only two characters in front of me right now on Google. What a funny bunch of characters they are. Grandma Estelle Little is nothing. There's nothing to talk about with any of those guys.
There's really nothing to talk about them. It feels like they're there to like sort of like give credence to like the Little family name. Like there's like a legacy to it that the Stuart's trying to like live up to, because like, you know, to give a sense that like there's like a larger family at play here that like Stuart like has to try to fit into, but they really don't play a part besides like they help out the family later on in the movie, but really they're just there to be like, oh, this is the Little family. What the name you've taken on, Stuart? It may be little, but its implications are big.
There's 4 of them, right? There's 4 extended family members.
I think there's at least 5.
There's a lot, and they're pretty much there the whole time, however long the time frame of this movie is.
They put Stuart Little in little, like, Ken clothes, like Barbie Ken clothes, because they can't. That's how they dress. Sorry, I need to talk about that. They take him to like a little doll maker. They're like, hey, we're looking for clothes for our son, Stuart. They put him on the fucking counter. And then he's just like, here he is. He's a mouse. And then the guy's like, we got just the thing, and pulls out these like Barbie clothes that are like, you know how Barbie has like specific jobs and stuff.
Yeah.
Like, she's an astronaut and stuff, so this, like, Ken doll equivalent. It's like, oh, here's his gladiator outfit, or his, like, undersea fucking water adventure outfit. I don't know. I don't remember. And they're like, do you have, like, normal clothes for this guy? Like, we're not gonna dress up our little mouse son as a gladiator. Stuart Little's parents, his real parents, they died getting crushed by soup cans. So, I need to know, are mice, like, the only other animal that has, like, equal rights to humans?
I don't
That's
think...
the question,
isn't
isn't it?
I think it's kind of debatable if they have equal rights to humans in the first place.
Because, like, Snowbell is a cat. Snowbell is a cat. There's alley cats we meet, and they're just cats. They can't talk to humans. They don't have a society. They're like a mafia, the alley cats, but like that's just funny. It's not important.
They also cuss more like little sailors.
Yeah, they say like hell and damn a lot, and I think a lot of people did not like that.
One of the main things that parents take away from Stuart Little is that it's a foul movie, and it's not as good as the books, because the books are sweet and kind and beautiful, and the movie has a bunch of dams and cusses.
The question could be that, like, Stuart, like, isn't really a mouse, but just somewhat like a mouse, but that doesn't really hold much water in this movie, since he's just ostensibly a mouse. It's not like in the book where they just refer to him as somewhat like a mouse. He's got the mouse features, and other mice, actual mice in the movie, recognize him, as we see later when Snowbell puts the cat mafia up to, like, taking out Stuart Little, and the way they do it is discreetly calling in a favor to the rat mafia, I guess, the mouse mafia.
I guess
I don't know.
There's like some Italian mice who pretend to be Stuart Little's parents.
Well, they were hired by Smokey.
Yeah, Smokey's the cat mafia leader, but which they don't make. I think Snowbell's friend, who I can't remember the name of, he makes a reappearance, I think, in the second movie, doesn't he? But I don't think any of the other cats do.
No, they do not. Their power pace struggled when they couldn't, like, assassinate one little mouse.
When they struggled to get one guy.
When they tried so hard to catch that little red car, but it was too fast, and they all got wet.
Yeah, then they all got dumped into the river.
They threw a bunch of cats in the water in this movie.
Stuart Little is a fascinating movie in regards to, you can view it in multiple different ways. You can view it as a sweet little mouse movie, you know, family fun times. This is a very Thanksgiving movie that has nothing to do with Thanksgiving. Or you can view it as a mouse manipulating his way into a rich family and trying to win over them so that he can secure his position. And then he goes away for just a little bit, and then he goes on a fun sewer chase, and then he's back home again. But, like, now everybody likes him.
If y'all could choose a point for Stuart Little, the movie, to just, like, end, to just get on with it and go, where would it be?
I want it to be right at the scene where he returns home and he finds that everyone's left him, and the facade falls. Like, immediately after that, he leaves, and the facade falls, and he just really lets out that he was a con man all along, and, like, it's like he leaves, and then the Stuart family, the Little family, in the house, they celebrate and they saw him go, and it's like a happy ending to the movie because they found out he was trying to get into their life.
There's nobody here. It's just you and me.
Yeah, the scene where Stuart comes home after he's been like kind of lost, missing, whatever, and the Little family has used a family photo of him where they cut out his face so that they could like, you know, bring it to a printer machine and blow it up so it could be on missing like lost posters. But Stuart comes home when they're all out looking for him, and Snowbell is just like, hey, nobody else here but us, and shows him the picture where Stuart's face is like very neatly cut out like in a square.
They're having a party without you. Also, this picture is so funny to me. Every time I look at it, I just think that's The Shining. That's the end of The Shining. And that could have been cool. They could have ended it with a zoom in on the picture.
It could be just like The Shining. It could take place in the Shining universe.
I mean, they do end with like a zoom in on the picture, but not like The Shining.
But like a sad, weird picture, you know? That would be cool. Like a oh my god, Stuart Little was dead the whole time? What?
But that's not how the movie ends.
Rene?
Of course, it ends like how he said, with like, you know, Stuart returning to his family, lessons learned and whatnot. He finds out that he really does belong to the Little's family and not to the random mouse Mafia family that claimed to be his parents.
What were they called again? The Stouts?
Yeah, the Stouts.
The Stouts. the ideological rival to the Littles. So here in the Speakuel cast, we endeavor to suss out the qualities of the world space in these movies, but we can only go so far with the first movie. Stuart Little, as a first movie, establishes a promising foundation with this world of sapient mice and sapient other animals, supposedly, but they have no place in society, unlike mice, apparently.
Perhaps mice are the only ones that manage to, like communicate with the humans. Like, they, you know how Meowth trained to talk?
Yeah, you know, I was actually gonna say, like, in Detective Pikachu, they're like, you know, Pokemon can really understand us if we just, you know, talk with our feelings. I think the mice just learned how to do that.
Yeah, I think the mice...
That might be the case.
Or perhaps it's just, you know, convergent evolution. They evolved to be like little humans. So be it.
Maybe.
So be it.
We'll find out more in our next episode, where we go into the Stuart Little sequels and we complete this tome of the Stuart Little universe as part of the greater multiverse of cinematic universes we'll explore through this podcast.
I'm really looking forward to seeing the second movie once again.
I'm looking forward to seeing the third movie for the first time, since y'all
no,
talk about it so much.
You gotta take that back.
You will regret those words.
Alright, thank you for joining us. The sun is coming up. I think I gotta get back to my station, everybody.
Yeah.
Well, we gotta get into our places. I'm gonna shut down. Gert, you better get back in through the portal.
Alright, let me put back on my STEM suit.
Alrighty, well, it's been fun. We'll see y'all next time. I'm Lucy.
I'm Rene.
And I am Gert.
Bye-bye.
Good night.